Gen Z will have up to 28 jobs in their life. 85% of the jobs that will exist in 2030 do not exist today.
Mental health will become a bigger of a problem in the coming year. Karine Trioullier is a world-class talent architect and is here to reveal how your career and workplace are actually going to look like in the next 10 years.
90,000 hours in our life that we spend at work. We have to forget about this 9-to-5 model. We need flexibility. And it's what I call the bee career model. It's a model where, a bee wakes up each morning. The bee knows that she has to produce a good honey.
We become bees. What are we looking at in the next 10 years?
They should focus only on tasks where they can add value. It's up to everyone to ask yourself the question, how my job will be impacted, not only in my company, but in the market.
Loyalty will actually go for a toss.
We have to redefine loyalty.
What is the advice that you'd give to people about upskilling and reskilling, thinking about the future?
The advice I always give to people, and I apply it to myself, is...
Hello everyone. It's Muhammad Tariq here. If you've been finding value in Diary of a Founder, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel. Your support is not just about numbers. It's about helping us reach more people, share more journeys with you, and inspire others to grow. So hit subscribe and let's dive into the conversation. Karine, let's start by painting a picture of a workplace. I'll split the workplace into 3 different ages. The first one is the post-internet era. When we had the introduction of the World Wide Web, we saw many changes with people starting to use the internet. The workplaces evolved with the internet. And then we had the post-iPhone era, which brought so many new industries and so many new ways of connecting the world and the workplaces. Now we are in the post-pandemic era. Can you paint a picture of the current workplace, typical workplace, and how do you see the workplaces heading towards in the next 10 years?
Mm-hmm. The current workplace is impacted by the fact that today everyone feels entitled to talk about the world of work and their own experience. And during the previous eras, you mentioned, after internet introduction, after iPhone introduction, people felt that technology would support their journey, but would not be an enemy. It would help them to be more productive and also to balance their life between work and their personal life. Today is different. What happened in the workplace is related to the fact that everyone gets more awareness on what really matters to them. They had these weeks where they stay at home and they were not going to the office for the first time of their life. And suddenly they ask themselves some questions they never thought of. So it triggers some new expectation. And on top of that, a lot of people shared on social network their perspective on the workplace and their perspective on fulfillment, on work balance, on resignation, on being an entrepreneur. So suddenly they realize that you could have different ways of working on earning their life. And there was not only one unique model. And they also found out that a lot of people were not so satisfied with their professional life. So there is something about communication and comparing yourself to others, but being part of deciding to look at their day-to-day differently. So they want to balance better, and they also want not to be impacted in terms of mental health, because now in the workplace, you had a lot of people talking about burnout because it's a reality. And people want to feel that they have a chance for success, a fair equal opportunity to be successful and to feel secured, because working is about feeling secured for your family first, and then it's about fulfillment. So what has changed with the pandemic time is that people have individual expectation. And before they were all referring to one model, the model I called the giraffe model, when you have to look for food. So you choose a big tree and you spend your life stretching your neck in order to reach the best fruit in the top.
Okay.
And if you manage to get them, you are successful. And nowadays, we don't want to wait for the fruits to be there. We don't want to stay next to the same tree the whole life, because we want to have flexibility. And it's a good news because companies need also flexibility.
True. That's a beautiful way of explaining the current way of working. I guess it's not towards one direction. You could probably be looking at multiple directions. Is that what you're trying to say?
Exactly, because life is not so predictable. So companies cannot give you the insurance that you will stay the whole life in their company. You will be fulfilled, happy, high performer, well compensated. They would love to do it, but they cannot, because they don't know what's going to happen in their business. So in our life, it's the same. We need flexibility. And some people like having a linear career, vertical career, and the higher you go, the happier you are. And some other people, they don't value this way of career, this type of career progression. They pay attention to other criteria, and they should be recognized and they should be supported. And it's what I call the bee career model. It's a model where, a bee wakes up each morning, and the bee knows that she has to produce a good honey. And the bee goes in some places to collect the pollen from some flowers. But sometimes the bee cannot find what it's looking for. So they have to change the usual spot and to look for something different, because the honey should be good, but it has not always the same taste. So they visit new places to collect the pollen. And then they go back to the beehive, and they are used to have in their life at least 7 different roles in their life. They have to collect pollen, they have to nurse other bees, they have to feed them, they have to ventilate in the beehive because of the temperature. They have to be a scout, they have to be the security guard. So in our environment, we see that. So we have to adjust also in our life. And our career can be successful by having different roles, by having different experiences. And I think since the pandemic, people realize that they could access also this career model.
So we've become bees in a way at the moment.
If you feel like a bee, it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you are not stable, you don't think about career success. You are just different and you enjoy discovering yourself. And it's not about performance only, it's also potential related.
I like the example of the bee.
Okay.
Since we have become bees in this example, do you think the loyalty between organizations and employees will actually go for a toss?
We have to redefine loyalty, because loyalty can be, you have a lot of definition, but for me it's a matter of trust and ethics. Okay, I will not damage your company reputation. I will not use data or things in an inappropriate way. And on the employer side, I will pay attention to the mental health of my employees. Or if there is a problem in the company, like more harassment or things like that, we have a process to support you. So it's a matter of where does my commitment start and where does it end? So you can have some employees who will tell you, I love my job, but I don't want to sacrifice my personal life. So I would love to leave the office by 5 or 6. It shouldn't be a taboo. You need some core employees who work that way, and you need some top performer, high potential, who want to spend more time or more energy on some difficult questions. And we have to accept that a company does not need high potential only. They need 10%, and we know that. And the rest of the people, they also have a value, but we should support them in terms of progression. It's not because you are not looking for a managerial position that you cannot grow, you cannot learn, and you cannot add value and support us to include newcomers, for instance. And we have to value that, and not only the people who get promotion.
So we've redefined loyalty in this context. It's not just sticking with the job. It's not showing that you'll be around in the next 5 years. The companies cannot promise that, and you're saying that the employees shouldn't expect that. It's both ways. Loyalty should be looked in the sense that what you can contribute and what you
And
can expect from each
transparency.
other. Transparency as well.
To a certain
Now,
extent. But
great. Now, how will the career of a bee will change? I mean, how many professions are going to be changed in your view? And what professions?
According to the World Economic Forum, in general statement, they say that millennials should have between 5 to 9 type of careers in their life, which means that some of them, and Gen Z, will have up to 28 jobs in their life. That's why they should stop being scared by the fact that, I don't know what is my dream job. I wrote a book called Dream Jobs, because we don't have one kind of job that really is appealing to us. We need to understand that we have a lot of ingredients that makes us happy at work. It can be having colleagues. It can be having creativity in my job. It can be having contact with different countries. So we all have different ingredients, and we need to make different recipes in our professional journey in order to adjust to the market and the needs, and also to take the lead on our job satisfaction. So that's why in the B career means that you can have different careers, you can have different jobs, but at the end, they have something in common. And you are the boss. You should know what is common, because organization can provide you with a career path, but it's aligned with the organizational needs. And that's why if it's not aligned with your expectation, you should say, I'm looking for this kind of mission, this kind of project. This is good for me because what I have in mind, and voila. So it should be an open dialogue. And if the company said, yes, we understand, it makes sense, but right now we don't have anything. So how would you handle the situation? Would you like to get another exposure to another department in the meantime? It would help you to understand, blah, blah, blah. But it should be an open discussion, not something taboo. So B career is not something that is not interesting for companies. It can be interesting to have people who can navigate from one job to another, who adjust, who learn fast, who see the connection between problems. The more employees you have who have a good understanding of the overall picture of a company, the better it is for the organization, because they understand all the connection. And it's not only the top management. So in the future, I think we need more talent who have the same perspective on the business. They have the overall understanding, and it's not only the top management. And it will reduce the distance between top management and talent.
There's more dialogue and, of course, self-exploration, I guess. And the vision of the professional should be clear, I guess, in terms of their own needs and wants.
Yes.
I think vision will become
and we should
very important
we should
part.
accept that it can change
Yeah.
from the employee side and from the organization side. Okay, we told you that we will go to that direction, but now we feel that we have to change. And it's okay. It's not a betrayal,
Correct. I think a lot of people will actually face this change because of the skills that they'll actually need to learn given the integration of the AI. A lot of the jobs will change. They will end up changing themselves. If they don't change, they will become irrelevant.
From one day to another.
Yeah.
So also a part of the mission of some employers would be to find the right balance between informing their talent about the impact of IA on their jobs and offering upskilling, reskilling opportunities, but they should also keep their motivation. And in some market, like developed market, it's very taboo. And I feel that on emerging economy, people are more open to that because they feel that they are accountable for that, and they look at tomorrow. In Europe, we look at the past. So we say, okay, even with your artificial intelligence, I have 20 years of expertise and blah, blah. So don't tell me that suddenly I'm useless. Huh? They don't believe that. And so the people are not so open to change. And so they cannot believe that the organization will get rid of them. you know? So it's taboo. It's not always that the organization does not want to talk about it, but they don't know which door they should take.
Great. That's fantastic example. People have become hybrid in a way. Workplaces have become hybrid. So we're not looking at one model of working. Essentially, you can be working from home, working from a coffee shop, working from anywhere in the world, and you could be working on different things as well, not with one employer, I guess. That's what you're saying here, right?
It can be related to the way we are organized, but not only. Some people at different phases in their life. For instance, a woman, when she becomes a mother, she can feel like she needs more flexibility and to stay a little bit of more at home and to work from home. And at some stage, she feels like, oh, let me escape from home. I need to see my colleagues. I need to connect. I need to share with them. So we don't always have the same needs. And the work life should be flexible enough to give us the opportunity to perform, to be productive in different kind of model.
It's the end result that one should be looking at, essentially.
Yes.
That's what I understand from this response. Now, this is the current situation, hybrid model in every sense of the word. We become bees. What are we looking at in the next 10 years?
We are looking at people who don't focus on what they assume they know, but they rather pay attention to what they can still learn, to be employable and to be efficient and also to be fulfilled. You cannot expect one employer to take care of you on all aspects of your life. We are not children. I think with the pandemic, we became adult employee. It's my way of looking at it. What I mean by that, you cannot expect everything from your employer. You can expect to be treated correctly, professionally. You can expect to be recognized in your work, but you cannot expect to have all the time new opportunities to learn, to have a perfect career path for the 20 next years. You also need to know what you want, and sometimes what you want may change over time.
What is currently being seen is, of course, the integration of the AI, for example. I think that is going to play a major role in the coming years, the integration of the AI in terms of bringing in automation, changing the entire roles in many situations or organizations. There will be new jobs, I guess. How do you think this is going to be handled by people in terms of their skill sets and, changing new or learning new things rather?
We are all concerned by this IA introduction, and as an employee, as an employer, but it's up to each individual to be curious enough and not to be only afraid, and to look at it like an opportunity, like we used to do it when intranet started at work. And a lot of information are available online, a lot of information related to your kind of job. So it's up to everyone to ask yourself the question, how my job will be impacted, not only in my company, but in the market, how my job will look like in 10 years, in 5 years. What kind of task will not be part of the job content. And so I don't think it's up to the employer to explain and to teach that to each employee. It's also part of our own journey to be curious enough to understand the impact. So it's not a bad news. Normally, the basic tasks that are repetitive, that not require a lot of time, could be handled by IA. So it's a good news, because you will focus only on creative tasks, tasks that can change over time. I mean, in terms of ambiguity, the task has to be redefined all the time, and the task related to our also ends and our ability to produce results. Yeah, but depending on the job, and also should keep in mind that according to the World Economic Forum, we used to say that 85% of the job that will exist in 2030 do not exist today. So don't focus on what I'm going to do in 10 years, because don't look for job title. We don't know yet. We don't know them yet. So we have to acknowledge that we have to focus on what kind of problems I like to solve. because we need our jobs to be useful. Since this pandemic, it's very obvious that if we get up each morning, we need to do something that is useful.
So what kind of skills you think will be important for people to learn?
The skills related to emotional intelligence, for sure.
Very important,
Such
absolutely.
as exercise optimism, dealing with ambiguity, our ability to recognize recurrent patterns. Because behind the recurrent pattern, you have some recurrent behaviors and some recurrent tasks. So it's important to be aware of that. It's also about managing our emotion and this intrinsic motivation. It's something you have or you don't have, but it's something you need to develop. It's not easy to have this intrinsic motivation. We're so used to be motivated by external triggers that we have to go back to the stage where I don't know exactly what's going to happen in the next years, but I have to trust the process and to motivate myself. Even if sometimes in a new job, I don't know yet if I perform well or not, because I don't have a framework, a very clear framework. So all these skills will be key, and also entrepreneurship mindset, which is related to intrinsic motivation. Our ability to solve new problems with new solutions. So creativity for sure, and dealing with change.
One of the things that I have personally felt, it's about mental health. I personally think that mental health will become a bigger of a problem in the coming years, because people are going to be working from home, from different locations. They're connected over the internet, and there's no sense of community that we currently still have in offices. This probably will diminish, and people will become isolated in certain ways. How do you think organizations are going to be prepared to handle this?
We are in a vicious circle. People don't want to go back to office because some workplaces are toxic. So it depends which door you open. Half of the workers in the world, it's around 52% of workers, of professionals in the world, say that they struggle with burnout. Burnout is a syndrome resulting from a chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed by employer, but also by employee. Because one part belongs to the environment, for sure, and one of the side of the symptom belongs to us. Because, people who suffer from burnout are not lazy employee. Most of the time, they are dedicated employee. They work hard and they sacrifice their own lives. And sometimes they don't manage to set boundaries. And in the workplace, we don't always have a clear picture of the overall workload of some key talents, because you have some dotted lines, you report to different people. So we don't really realize how much people are busy sometimes. So in one hand, I don't think that, in one hand, it's true that if people stay at home, they will disconnect more from the workplace. For some of them, it will be more positive. They say, I was so close to fall in the burnout that thanks to the remote work, I can manage myself. For other people, I feel so disconnected that I cannot even stand a Zoom call with my colleagues. I feel like it's not reality. So it depends. For each individual is different. I think we have to find a balanced way. Hybrid mode is very efficient. And I know some companies, like in insurance, for instance, they have 2 or 3 models of flexible time. And people have to apply each month to one model according to their needs. So if you have a lot of exam for a child who is sick, you will take plan A. The following month, you will choose another flexible time model because you have a big project. And I believe that these kind of models are very productive for the company, and they are also connected to the mental health of the employee. At the end, they have to manage themselves in order to avoid having this half of the workers struggling with workout. So it can improve or it can be worse. And there is a Boston Consulting Group study that was conducted in July this year that showed that if you have an organization where employees feel included, you can decrease half of the number of burnout. And the feeling of being included in the company lays on the fact of having access to the resources you need to perform well. You need also to have the top management support. And the third criteria is very important. You need to have a sense of psychological security with your direct manager. So what does it mean? If we want people to feel in good condition and to feel in good conditions to perform, we need to pay attention to this inclusion.
Diversity, inclusion is going to be fundamental.
Yeah, so it's not a sense of belonging, it's a sense of being included.
I think it's going to be a big challenge looking at the picture down 10 years down the line. People are sitting all over the world, and perhaps they're connecting through augmented reality, and they're just having holograms, and but that is all artificial.
I don't know, because I would challenge that, because what I notice big differences between companies that have always operated in remote mode. Mm-hmm. So all the processes were designed for remote workers, and it has nothing to do with the processes we have in large international companies, which are processes related to people working from the office. And from one day to another, we didn't change the process. We just added some rules related to your flexible time. We provided some guidelines, but we didn't design the processes according to the fact that people are operating remotely, so they don't know each other. So we have to have some support. We need to have some processes to support the connection. And in companies which operate only in remote mode, you have these processes. In other companies, you don't have. So people keep disconnecting.
Okay, great. Let's talk about the organizational culture. I mean, in 10 years down the line, I think there will be significant shifts, of course, because of the style of working, the intervention of the technology, new ways of working. Where do you think organizations are headed in this direction, and how they're going to handle the upcoming challenges in terms of the cultural development?
In terms of the cultural development, they should look at some key skills, not hard skills only. They were used to recruit according to some soft skills, but most of the time, they were not spending so much time on the cultural fit and also on the expectation for the future. They were looking at today and not what people were really looking for. So I think in terms of the world of work in the future, companies have to be more transparent. And because the big problem right now is that no one trusts anyone. Employee don't trust employer, and employer don't trust employee. And they all have good reason. But there is a kind of role play during job interviews that block transparency. So for instance, we focus on salary, we focus on did you really work for that company? Did you have a good relationship with your manager? So we focus a lot on the past. And I think, I'm not saying that the resume is dead, but I would love this paper to disappear, because it's only a paper about the past. And we spend so much energy on this paper. And what really matters, it's not really what you have done or what you know, it's what you can still do for me. So we should talk about today and tomorrow and not spend so much time on the past. Like, for instance, why we hire people, we recruit people in an office, and we talk in the same way. Either you are recruiting a salesperson or a financial guy. We all have the same approach. So I think in the future we should find a way to look at recruitment differently.
So what is the advice that you'd give to people about upskilling and reskilling, thinking about the future?
Okay. What advice is that I understand at the beginning, 10 years ago, I saw a lot of companies, international companies, which started projects with big consulting firms. I need your help to prepare for the future. So you have organizational transformation team built with a lot of external consultant, and some key people in the organization. And this topic was managed externally because it's taboo. you know. So now the advice I would advise, I'm who I am to give advice, but what I feel that perhaps could help is to, rather than informing about the plan, asking each key talent to talk about the future of their jobs. How do they see their expertise looking like in 5 years? So it's also related to business. So how do you see yourself in that career model? I mean, knowing that your job may be impacted like 20 to 30%, is it still interesting for you? What do you have in mind? So it's about asking people to design the image of the future for their expertise, to create awareness. First, we need to create awareness for some market, like developed market, because awareness is not there. So it's too early to... So how can, as an employer, how can I raise this awareness? Looking at them like adults. This is the resources. This is key people, career coaches, or I don't know. The purpose of this exercise is to make you work on the future in your expertise.
I guess we're talking about all types of professions.
Okay, I'm talking about right now, I'm talking about large international companies like executive roles, but it's also valid for non-executive or for hairdresser. For a hairdresser. So it means a hairdresser, if he's an employee in a salon, I'm sure he receives the message that we don't do that in the same way. People do it by themselves, do it yourself. So we have to focus on areas where we add value. So for instance, I give you advice. You should do that because the products are available. You know, it's like in all fields, all the knowledge is free on the net. So the value is not related to the knowledge, is related to the way you use this knowledge in order to be happy and to get the life you are looking for.
Now, what type of expectations will the employees have from their employers?
Some of them still have the expectation that the companies will tell them that they have to train in that field or this other field. So that will remain, but they will not assume that the only thing they should work on. They should train themselves in that field for the company, but they also need to train themselves in other fields for their future. And it's part of so this part of the expectation is still there, but differently. In terms of expectation, they want the company to provide fair opportunities and salary transparency. So they want to, they don't want the salary to be a topic like I'm doing the same job as my colleague, so I should get the same salary. It's not the case. So what do we? There is a waste of energy on that topic, and it has an impact on the relationship at work. So people expect the work environment to be more transparent and to be fair. On the other hand, they expect the employer to teach them some entrepreneurship skills, which mean that you may not have the need to hire me all the time. So maybe yesterday I had a client in the same situation. The employer said, okay, starting next month, we need you half of the time. So what I'm going to do with the other part of the day, I need a source of income and I need to be useful. So they are also expecting their employer to provide at the beginning some resources to be able to manage this transition.
Yeah.
So I think they are lost and they assume that their employer know more than them.
Yeah. So these bees are going to be sitting on different flowers during the day to collect the honey, I guess.
Yes, the bee are not looking at their career progression in terms of status. Mm-hmm. They are looking at their career progression in terms of skills, new field to discover. So they can be employee 2 days in a week, and they can be entrepreneur another day. They can be freelancer. They can do voluntary work on the other day. So, for instance, some companies, they already provide services related to voluntary work. They have a subscription. An employee have 1 week they can dedicate to voluntary job. So they put money in some project related to environment or social topic, and employee can disappear from the office and involve themselves in some project, and they get paid by the company.
You think then gig-based economies will flourish even further? Like Fiverr, Freelancer, and all these websites will have more and more people joining in?
I think not everyone is wired to be a freelancer or entrepreneur. So it's something you should learn. And it's not like being an entrepreneur, being successful, having 100 people working for you. This is a type of employer, and it's very nice, but you have different ways of being an entrepreneur. I'm been an entrepreneur for I don't know, 18 years, and I have a team, but I don't hire them. They all have their own companies. I don't want to feel accountable to find work for them all the time. I just want to hire them when I have something interesting for them, and they feel like doing. So we have different model, and I think the company do not need people they shouldn't hire people just for their time, just to be there in case we need something. We have to give up on this time approach, and we should value the outcome. So I need these people for this outcome. So we don't pay the time, we pay the outcome. And whenever, if you are freelancer or not, this approach should be valid in the traditional organizational environment. We should learn that and stop valuing time, because at the end we have burnout and we don't have more productivity. So anyway, the market is looking for more flexibility on both sides, and we have to navigate between mission, task, fixed contract. It can take different ways, but at the end, it's about providing outcome.
Outcome is the most important
We have
thing
to
here.
go back to basic. We work for something.
Exactly.
For a result.
Now, what are the employers going to be expecting of the employees? I think that is the outcome that you're referring to, right?
To be skilled, to take care of, because they cannot take care of them from 9 to 5 anymore. It's not the model that will be dominant. If we listen to the CEO of LinkedIn, he just said that 2 months ago, that we have to forget about this 9 to 5 model, even before 2030. And they cannot be accountable for the professional development of all their talent. So the accountability of taking care of your own training, and it belongs to each individual. So this transfer of responsibility is a revolution. It started already, and but for some people it's not natural. So in terms of employer, we'll expect people to be trained, but they should also sometimes, because it's new jobs, because it's new skill, and and it's new for everyone, they should be the one creating programs for people also. You know, like all companies could provide access to a resource in terms of what I mean in my workplace.
Interesting. Now, talking about the change, what do you think the companies are most stubborn about at this stage?
You mean
in terms of the change?
They feel insecure. So, and a lot of intermediary managers feel insecure because they are like sandwich between top management and their talent, their team. And they are so scared that sometimes they focus too much on controlling. So even when they hire a new talent, they spend so much energy just to justify with the past their decision, with past evidence. Oh, he has already done that. So I think some employers are obsessed and too focused on getting reassurance from other, from the past. And today they should look at the future. So they should be more focused on how to assess potential of people, more than how to measure and control the performance. We know that, how to measure performance. So it's true that according to an Indeed survey made in 2023, 87% of professionals say that they have had at least one toxic manager in their life. So they are sensitive to this toxic management trend, but it doesn't mean that it's getting better. I think they are very sensitive to equal workplace, so they do not want to compromise on equal compensation. So, for instance, if they learn that their colleague got a higher salary than them, they will quiet quit, which means that they will do their job, but they will turn off in the evening. They will disconnect from their emails, from their phone, unless they get compensated for extra work. So I think now they know how people are promoted, because some people like myself on social network, we share the rules of getting promoted, which has nothing to do with performance. According to Coleman, it's only performance counts for 10%, and exposure and image are the remaining 90% of the decision of promoting someone. Because they know all these rules, they don't want to give up on all this topic. They want transparency. So they are obsessed sometimes by this topic and highly sensitive, rather than spending time on what belongs to me there. Have I already asked for a raise? Have I already asked for a specific promotion for a job? You know?
Very valid point here. The promotions, the career development, and hierarchy of an organization. How will that be impacted in the coming years?
I think companies need people who are more independent and who feel less like victims sometimes. Like, okay, not everything is perfect in the workplace, but either I want to challenge and find solution and I help for that, or either I stay in my victim shoes because, okay, I suffer from that, and I wait for the organization to fix it. So I think they are looking for people who are more collaborators. And on the other side, they are looking for people who will challenge them, but we will not force them like a child and an adult. They want people to be adult and to be. It's not a critique, but sometimes we are educated to behave like at school. We expect a lot of things from the teacher. The teacher knows if it's right or if it's wrong. And sometimes we challenge the teacher, but we never put ourselves in the shoes of the other person. And they expect employees sometimes to understand better what it is to be on the other side. Because so more empathy. And sometimes, yes, in terms of time management, we pay attention to people. You don't want to do extra hours. You don't want to work extra hours. But sometimes there is a project that require more time, and we need to be smart on both sides, to be more collaborative.
Exactly. Now, in terms of the overall impact of the changes in the coming years, who do you think will remain unaffected?
I think one thing that will not change is the fact that most of the people, they like being good performer. They like doing their work well. So I don't think that Gen Z do not want to work. No, they want to be proud of what they do every day. They are more aware of the time they spend at work. It's, 90,000 hours in our life that we spend at work. So they want to use this time efficiently, and they want this time to be aligned with their values in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think the role of human resources will evolve in the coming years?
I think during the last 30 years, human resources have been there to secure the payroll, to secure that some information remain confidential, to support the top management and the employee, but to a certain extent. They were not there to really take initiative, or I'm a little bit tough, but they were not asked to be the leaders in the transformation. They were asked to support transformation. I think now we need more than ever people in HR who have an entrepreneur mindset and who understand the need to take a strong decision and to communicate with transparency to employees, to build this awareness, which is not there today in terms of future of work. So they should have the resources and the space to be more strategic and to take decisions by themselves. And so it's a matter where HR stands in the organization. But in the next coming 5 years, for me, it's a key function. And maybe not everyone in HR right now is trained to be efficient for this coming phase. But I think it will be a strategical function even more than ever. Even more strategic than finance, because if you need more new skills, you need people to go fast and to train fast. You need to identify people who can grow fast, who can learn fast. So it's a new mission, and without HR, we cannot succeed. So we have to change our paradigm around HR, because HR function is not a popular function. Huh? People blame HR for everything, but they don't know what's happened in the backside. Huh? They don't decide so much. But today they will have to take the lead for sure.
So people and culture development will be the key, I guess, in the coming years.
And they will have to care about people and to support the change management journey.
Given the dynamics of the workplace,
yes,
workforce, and the locations, the number of locations.
And
people
what
will
is
be
a
working
priority number one in terms of skills according to the business? Oh, it changed.
Yeah.
So I changed my plan. We should focus on that skill. What does it mean to hire talent with high EQ? How can I ensure that people know how to hire these people? Do I train my management, or should we have a small team who hire people during this transition, and we don't have long processes where we involve everyone? Because today we are looking for different skills, and it takes time to train everyone. So they will have to challenge the organization more than ever, and to connect with their colleagues in other sectors, in other industry, in other companies. They should share their experience. And they should also, I think, share some talent sometimes. I have these skills, but we don't need, do you need? They should support the process, internally and externally.
How would they assess the different skill sets and, match the skill sets with the company? Because in the B model, since you mentioned that, in this example, we become Bs, how would you make the person relevant for an organization if they're working elsewhere or they have multiple commitments? How would you talk to them and bring on board?
Rather than having a resume, we will have a portfolio, like with outcome and some references on each outcome.
You're talking about a project-based model?
It can be a project, it can be visual things depending on the work. It can be a list of accomplishments with some references. What was the challenge I had to solve? What was the key action I used to get this result? And what was the result? And including some accomplishments which were not so much successful. In the portfolio, it's not only successful things, it's all kind of situation I've been exposed to. And for each situation, you have some references. People I work with, people I work for.
So full-time employees will reduce in number. You'll have plenty of part-time employees and project-based employees, I guess.
Yeah, I think it depends on your business, but do you think that companies need all the time to have some, especially the people who are very experienced? Yeah. Do they need them to sit from 9 to 5? And are they using their full experience every day? I'm not sure. So when it comes to younger people with less experience, I can see the benefit of having them sometimes at the office, because they need to understand the culture, they need to get the code, they need to understand the organization, the relationship, the circle of power between people. They need to understand that work is not white or black. So it's part of the onboarding process. But for people with a lot of experience, I don't see the point of having them all the time. Especially with artificial intelligence, they should focus only on tasks where they can add value. But if you just stay at the office with 20 years of experience and each 6 months you have something that is really related to your potential, I think it's not a good use of talent.
2 final questions. Number 1, what is your advice to the professionals to better prepare themselves for the future?
To be curious. Yeah, the problem starts with artificial intelligence if you don't want to look at it. So the advice I always give to people, and I apply it to myself, is ask yourself the question, when was the last time you did something for the first time? this question is very important. If you haven't done something for the first time for months or for years, it's time to start now because it will be a problem. I'm not even talking about technology. I'm talking about getting out of your comfort zone. Doing things for the first time, it's why we teach our children to do and not to be afraid of. But as an adult, in front of automatization and artificial intelligence, this is exactly how we look like, and we have to embrace it and love and enjoy doing things for the first time.
I think that's great advice. And what's your advice to organizations to help them better prepare for the future?
I think my advice is to trust more their talent, because even if, because it's not because they don't trust them that nothing bad will happen. So it's better to trust them and to make them feel accountable. And in terms of adjustment, it's the only way they have to really look at people if they are committed, loyal to the organization. And also it's a good way to assess the potential of people when you give a little bit of autonomy, but you behave as a servant organization. This is what you have to achieve, and we are here to support you. And the servant leadership apply to top management. And I think more than ever, they should behave as facilitators and not controllers.
Beautiful message to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Karine.
Thank you, Tariq.
For joining me.
Thank
I
you
have
very
learned
much.
a lot about the future, and I'm sure our audience
Let's cross
would relate
fingers.
to it and take a few takeaways with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.